The question then is, how can we be justified in the sight of God? Paul says that the proclivity of the sinful human nature is to justify oneself through what he calls works of the law. What he means by that is this: you try to make yourself good enough for God. It's the basic definition of works of the law. It's about you, not Jesus, what you do, not Him, you cleaning yourself up and getting your life together, not Him changing you from the inside out. Works of the law occurs in two ways. There's a religious form and a vague spiritual form. The religious form is that you try to be a devoutly good and religious person so that God will love you. The false assumption underlying all religion is that the only way to be justified in the sight of God is to earn it by doing your best and obeying the rules. And so religious people make lists of things they will and will not do. They seek very hard to do what they should do, not do what they shouldn't do, anticipating then one day, the day of judgment, where they stand before God and then sharing with Him their resume and saying, God, here's my life. I did a good job. Please justify me, declare me to be righteous, and allow me into your presence forever. The more vague spiritual form is not making sincere, hard efforts to be a good person, but assuming that what you are presently doing is good enough. This was my basic position before I met Jesus at the age of 19. I thought, well, the world is filled with good people and bad people. I'm sure I'm in the good people list. I'm sure I'm good enough. I don't need to do anything. I'm a pretty good guy. I'm sure that'll be fine. And then I read the scriptures which say that we are to be perfect as God is perfect, and God doesn't grade on a curve. He sees people as perfect and imperfect, and I'm most assuredly imperfect. The problem with religion is this: it leads to pride or despair. Pride meaning, I feel like I did enough. Despair meaning, I don't think I did enough. Religion never leads to hope, confidence, joy, and peace. Because the assumption is you need to do something that God will love you. Likewise, vague spirituality and the assumption that you are good enough is nothing more than pure pride. Furthermore, it is an absolute sense of overriding self-righteousness that you look at all the people and just assume you're better than most. That is the pinnacle of arrogance. Now, in the Bible, God does speak of these things using some very stark terminology. I'll share them with you so that you will be discouraged from being religious or vaguely spiritual. The first comes from Isaiah 64:6, where speaking of religion and works of the law and thinking you're a good person and trying your hardest so that God will love you, God says that your righteousness, your human attempts at being a good person apart from relationship with Him through Jesus, are as filthy menstrual rags, bloody tampons. If God is a father, this is the equivalent of showing up to his birthday party, and when he unwraps the box, that's what he gets. Somebody say, that's gross. I know. I'm with you. I agree. It's disgusting. No man in particular, wants bloody tampons. Right? But coming before God at the end of time and saying to Him, well, I think I've got a few things that you'll really appreciate. And I feel like if I give them to you, you'll justify me and we'll be even. He opens the box. Not really. Paul uses equally stark imagery in Philippians chapter 3, verse 8, talking about his religious life before Jesus, saying that all of his righteousness is as dung. It's a very stark word in the Greek. Some of our translations get a bit skittish. If you were here during the Philippians series, you may recall that it's very graphic imagery. I don't have a dog, but occasionally one gets in my yard and leaves a huge steaming pile. And every time I see one, I'm reminded of the spirituality of Oprah and the Dalai Lama and Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormonism and Islam and vague spirituality and goddess worship and Wicca. And Paul says, in the sight of God, it's a huge steaming pile. Might I submit to you, when you stand before God at the end of time, that if you come with a handful of bloody tampons and a warm, steaming pile, you will not be declared justified in His sight. That probably won't please Him, and it won't be sufficient. Say, that's disgusting. Religion is disgusting. Spirituality is disgusting. Trying to earn or merit God's favor is disgusting. Assuming that you are good enough for a holy, righteous, perfect, and good God is disgusting. That's why the Bible uses disgusting imagery. The alternative is Jesus. That righteousness, Paul says, comes through faith in Jesus Christ. In 2 Corinthians 5:21, Paul says it this way: God made Him who knew no sin to become sin so that in Him we might become the righteousness of God.